Hey guys, EDDBUD here, your favourite shoe enthusiast. Today a brand new shoe up on the blocks ready for some testing. It's the Armour Flow Velociti Wind. Howdy cats. Under Armour's team sent over this shoe for testing purposes, a lower stack, weight and profile shoe, so lots of things I do enjoy. Tend to favour that stuff, so how does this one shape up? I've got to state I'm not being paid to make this video. They have sent me the shoes for testing, but these are my honest opinions as per usual. 16 miles into the shoe so far, which is around about 26 kilometres. I haven't just bumbled round the block, you know. So a weight in my UK size 11, US size 12 of 276 grams, which is 9.7 of the ounces. I think it's about 8.5 ounces or 240 grams in a US size 9. Heel stack, 26 millimeters, so it's not too skyscraper-like. And then it slopes down for an 8mm drop. Right, let's get straight into it. No messing about today, guys. Upper first. The first thing that struck me about the upper of the Flow Velociti Wind was how close it was to the Saucony Endorphin Speed. I mean, it even came with a second set of laces as well. That's a winner in my book, so I'm just going to give it 3 out of 3 for upper. No, that profile is really close to the Endorphin Speed. Certainly fit-wise though, you got a lot more padding in the heel collar than the Speed, and the tongue's quite a bit more padded as well. There's even some suede on the tongue. It's a little bit like Under Armour have looked at the success perhaps of the Speed and gone, yeah, rather than make these really big bulbous shoes that are clunky and no one really understands, let's make something nice and nimble and sprightly. It really is fit city around the ankle collar and the tongue there. There's no pressure at all when you lace up the shoe over the top of your foot. A real treat. It's like your workmate gives you a little box of Maltesers just for being a good person. That sort of level of treat. That upper material here is almost transparent actually, you can see through it. Very breathable overall, and pretty much everything on the upper has been minimised to try and reduce the weight somewhat. Though not to the extent where the shoe upper feels flimsy or like it's going to break apart. Doesn't feel too thin or anything like that, it just feels right, everything's right about it. Comfortable and quite simple in terms of construction in fact. UA have used a number of stitched lines in a grid-like system to provide some real structure to the upper. And I've got to say, it just works really well. You've got partial booty construction with the tongue adjoined each side of the foot. There is some stitching there on the tongue, and I'm sure that if you were to pull it with loads and loads of force that you could rip it, but who's going to do that? You don't need to mess with it, you just put your foot in the shoe and tie it up and that's it. Eyelets have some reinforcement as you would expect, and I found lockdown was just really easy to achieve in the Flow Velociti Wind without the use of a runner's knot. I got to say, across all the different paces that I've run in the shoe thus far, it's been a real pleasure. Even on my taper week last week, running some very easy miles to running some steady miles around about 7 minutes 30 per mile pace, to yesterday even running up towards my threshold pace, it felt great. So at least for the EDDBUD feet, I'm going to give this a 2.8 out of 3 for upper after my initial runs. I think perhaps this is closest in upper feel to my beloved Pegasus Turbo 2 or the Endorphin Speed. It's about as closest you're going to get to the upper fit of those two shoes.
Midsole now.
Okay, so midsole's where it starts to get a little fruity. So we've got this new flow material that Under Armour have been utilising in Steph Curry's basketball Flow 8 shoe. It's a sort of material that you can use as both a midsole and outsole, one of those ground contact materials. The Flow Velociti Wind's got a wonderfully responsive feel. I do really enjoy it underfoot. It's not all about squash as you get in a Zoom X foam shoe, or a dense hit akin to that you'd find in React foam. This has rebound, but it's got some cushion too. I think a real all-rounder. Perhaps the Flow Velociti Wind could in fact be the Botham shoe of 2021. So I've run anything from 8 minutes 30 per mile easy runs, so that's about 5:17, something like that per kilometre. On recovery on Monday after my half marathon time trial, these felt wonderful, but I also blasted out stuff up towards 7 minutes 10 seconds per mile, which is 4 minutes 27 per kilometre. This one's got some real range. That's what I like in a shoe, some range. And I think it's down to that really nice flow midsole material. I'm a fan. I'm going to buy up all of the early singles, maybe the demos. I'm a fan. No plates here, no dishes, no carbon spatulas. Just a nice new midsole foam that does demand some attention. Not sure everybody's going to find the cushion ample here for perhaps some easy days, but I'm just getting a little bit bored of these massive oversized bulbous shoes. Just finding the overstacked foams just too compressive. Feels like I'm running on a sofa. Just really spongy underfoot and a bit of a turn off right now. I'm wondering what these midsole foams are doing to our feet and our legs and our muscles and our wallets as well. You know, on a long-term basis, is it a good thing to be running in stuff that's like that? I don't know. This to me is more of a 50s British sports car. Hopefully they'll do one in racing green. I can imagine myself racing along the country roads, the wind blowing through my hair, or what's left of it anyway. Limited suspension underneath. Beast in the passenger seat. Yeah, doesn't sound so good now. I found myself wanting to go faster and faster in this shoe though. It was really quite an enjoyable experience. I mean, it lends itself to sort of tempo running really. I think that's what the overall use case of the shoe is, certainly from Under Armour. But you could use it on some intervals. You got an engaging, snappy sort of response to it. And it's versatile, which is all the things I loved about the Saucony Endorphin Speed. I haven't really found stability to be much of an issue in using the shoe. On cornering, it just feels fine. Certainly as I went up through the gears, I've not really found any pace that just feels odd in the shoe. One thing I do have to mention is the shoe's ability to monitor its usage. Oh, and your performance as well. It's compatible with that Map My Run app, and you can run with your phone or without it, and it will still store all of the usage of the shoe. As a man heavily invested in information technology, that's something I really dig. So steps and activities are recorded, along with time, cadence, stride length, and average ground contact amongst other pieces of data. I found this feature really useful once I'd calibrated it on some known distances, and it gave me a whole load of other metrics to examine to help analyse the success of my training. Syncing was seamless. Just put the shoes on, it knows they're operational, and you can connect to the shoes via your phone. And I just find it another boon to an already high-performing shoe thus far. Midsole-wise, I'm going to give this a 2.7 out of 3. It's one of those foams we don't quite know how it's going to hold up over considerable time, but certainly my initial experiences have been very positive. Some might wish it's perhaps just a little bit lighter, and they might want to dispense with the technology that is contained within the shoe. I guess if it was a tiny bit lighter, I'd even race in this thing. Love it. Outsole now. Might just switch the shoe on then by accident. Well, outsole is the midsole. You know what I mean. This is one of those ground contact style midsole foams. So we've got it on the outsole too. There's loads of stretched patterns here on the outsole of the Flow Velociti Wind. And on road, pavement and grass, thus far, grip's been really great. I'm not seeing too many stones or pieces of grit get stuck within the outsole protrusions. I guess you can call them protrusions. But the pattern really does give some good grip. You've got so many different little segments there. You really feel connected with the ground. I guess it feels a little bit like the traction that I find on some shoes I wear casually, at the moment at least, which is the LeBron 17 and the Air Jordan 35. They're both basketball shoes and they're using a similar outsole style, but the grip's superb. I mean, it may sound a little weird comparing the outsole of a running shoe to that on a basketball shoe, but it really does work. Certainly better than the Saucony Endorphin Speed outsole, which I found to be the weak point of the shoe, or the Hoka Rincon. I mean, that one just wears down exceptionally fast. I don't seem to be getting too much wear here after about 23,000 steps, and it appears the foam's going to provide some great multi-purpose traction, though I haven't got to use it in any wet conditions as of yet. So I'm going to give this a 2.7 out of 3 for the outsole after my initial runs. Value. So again, I will state that this shoe has been sent to me for review, but the price on it is 140 Earth credits. As I stated earlier, I think a lot of people would easily dispense with the tech that's built into the shoe, but actually for me that's a bit of a deal breaker. I really like the tech that's included. Not sure I'd use this one as an out and out racing shoe. It's more about a training shoe, and it's going to give me loads more in terms of metrics, statistics and data to examine just how well I performed on a training session. Though lowering that weight a little bit would give you a slightly more nimble feel, something slightly closer in weight to the Saucony Endorphin Speed. I think this is a serious contender for something like the Hyperion Tempo from Brooks, with vastly better outsole grip and a better out the box underfoot feel as well. Doesn't need any brake in this shoe, it just felt great straight away. Is this a better shoe than a daily offering, perhaps something from Nike? The Invincible Run, the Infinity Run? Yeah, I mean this just feels a lot more exciting to run in. That aside, it feels really great to run slowly in it too. It's certainly on par with something like the Run Fast 2 or 3 and the Hyperion Tempo or the Pegasus Turbo 2. But coming in round about the same price as the Hyperion Tempo. Don't think this is going to be a ZoomX beta, but let's not forget the great thing about the Pegasus Turbo 2 was that combination of ZoomX and React, and this just kind of works in a similar way as a foam in its own right. A little bit lighter than the Reebok Energy 3 and less present on foot than the New Balance Fresh Foam 1080 V10 or V11. A sprightly package that I've got to be honest is the best that I have worn thus far in 2021. Range and versatility for me make this a 2.7 out of 3 for value. You could do some really varied running in this shoe. So if I've totaled up the scores correctly, that gives us a 10.9 out of 12 after my initial runs for the Under Armour Flow Velociti Wind. What do you make of this one, guys? Have I piqued your interest? Let me know down in the comments. A quick musical interlude for you. After that analogy earlier on about racing green coloured cars, it reminded me of an album from back in 2004 from High Contrast, which is called High Society. Beautiful, crisp drum and bass sounds from High Contrast on this one. I particularly like the track Lovesick, which is the album opener. Busy beats and just really intelligent programming there, just makes for some really pleasant tunes. Quite nice to have some drum and bass here which doesn't have a very aggressive vibe to it. In fact, I think it could really work on a nice summer's day. If you were out listening to some tunes, get into a bit of a tempo run, the track Racing Green in fact would be ideal. There's some beautiful synths and stuff here. Really does remind me of some early sort of rave sounds, but they brought them into a sort of more modern kind of feel. I say more modern, this was out in 2004. It seems like only yesterday to me. So do go and check that one out from High Contrast. It's called High Society. Okay, thanks for sticking with me to the very end of the video, guys. I very much appreciate it. I can't believe we smashed through 16,000 subscribers now. All thanks to you guys. I do appreciate all of you turning up to view the videos. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications of when I launch those new videos. And it really helps the channel out if you give this video a thumbs up like and share this video with your running buddies. My name's EDDBUD and I'll be seeing you